What's up, everybody? It's me, DeQwan Young, here alongside Benny Ricciardi. I'm half of the dynamic duo here on Betting with Benny, brought to you by the FTN Network, also live right now on the Game Plus Network. It's Friday. We're heading into the weekend. We love our Friday show because we hit the parlays, we hit the picks, or we hit the prop picks. We're looking at individual players because I'm learning I am not good at guessing spreads and totals. So this is my favorite show to do because I actually get to be on camera too. I'm here with Benny. Benny, I've talked to people's heads up enough. What do you got for us today? How you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good, but you know what? I don't want you to get too down on yourselves with the sides and the totals thing, because NFL is by far the hardest sport to beat when it comes to sides and totals. One of the reasons why I do that opening line show is if you're trying to beat the NFL, you got to get your money down early, because it is the most liquid market that's out there. I don't know, maybe like international soccer might be a little more liquid because people all over the world are betting it. But at least in this country, it is the most liquid market out there because it's the market that the most people bet on. Therefore, the numbers are usually, especially later on in the week, the closer it gets to the game, as everybody has all the, the information, everything. It is the hardest market to beat straight up. And this year has been particularly crazy with some of the results that we've had for some of these games. I mean, the Green Bay Packers going and losing to both New York teams. I don't think anybody had that on their parlay card at the beginning of the season. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers last week losing to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, the Indianapolis Colts losing or tying the Houston Texans before losing to the Jaguars, and then everybody betting on the Jaguars thinking the Jaguars were for real and them just basically tanking right after that. Like, the NFL is the hardest thing to figure out, and the markets are the most efficient out there. So don't get down on yourself if you have trouble beating the sides and the totals. That's why we do this prop market show, because the prop markets are usually a little bit softer. And unless you're somebody who is betting massive amounts of money with, 3 or 4 zeros and a comma in there, you're going to be able to get the amount of money you want to get down for a typical bettor into the prop markets, which are a lot easier to beat. And that's the whole point of this show, Quan, trying to help you guys beat the prop markets and make a little bit of cash to put in your pockets.
There are no commas in my bets. I repeat, there are no commas in my bets. But we're looking to change that.
There's a couple exclamation marks and expletives after a few of them, but yeah, no commas in the bets there.
Absolutely, some red marks. So we're going to get into the prop market show here. We talk anytime touchdowns for our first segment on the Friday show. Benny, we got 3 anytime touchdowns, and I see a very familiar name on there. One of your New York Jets are on there. I think we should start with that. That should be our first call.
Yeah, let's start with, listen, we had him last week, and he cashed for us at plus 185. We're not getting plus 185 on him again this week, because I think everybody else kind of figured out what we, tried to tell him last week, is that Breece Hall is legit, and the Breece Hall era has arrived here in New York. This is a guy who's had 3 straight games where he's basically averaged 20 touches, right? They're giving him 17, 18, 20 carries. They're giving him 3 or 4 looks out of the backfield as well. He scored a touchdown in 3 straight games here too. Now, it is a tough matchup for them. They're going up against the Denver Broncos. And as much as we make fun of the Denver Broncos because their offense is ridiculous and Russ needs to stop cooking and getting out of the kitchen and all that good stuff right there, the Denver Broncos defense is very legit this year. They are very good. They're very good against the pass. They're solid against the run as well. This is not a defense that's giving up a lot of points. This is not a defense that's going to be easy to score on. But with that said, the way that Breece Hall has been playing, the Jets early in the season, Breece Hall was the back half of the running back duo, right? Like, he was the guy seeing the smaller share of the carries, with Michael Carter the first couple games being the guy seeing the bigger half. So Carter was basically the RB1, Breece was the RB2. That not only flipped a couple weeks ago, but it has been smashed now in the last couple weeks. And that's what I really love about this Breece Hall play here is, he's seeing more than 2/3 of the snaps right now for the New York Jets at running back. I think last game it was even higher than that. It was 2/3 the week before. It was like 60% the week before that. So every game we've kind of seen it moving in that positive direction here, where he's getting a bigger share of the running back touches here. And again, this is not one of those games where the Jets are a 7-point underdog or something like that, where it's, oh man, they're going to have to throw the football here. I don't think the Jets are going to be able to throw the football very well against Denver, if they do it at all. So to me, that just means it's going to be another one of those games where they just try to give Brees as many touches as they could give him, whether that's screen passes out of the backfield, whether that's some running back carries. The ball is going to be in this guy's hands probably 20 plus times in this game here. And if you give him 20 plus touches, he's going to break one of them for a touchdown at some point.
Get the ball in the hands of your playmaker and see what they'll do. I like that bet. I went with Brees, the receiving total last weekend, and didn't fare too well. So I might go to the well. That's what I need to start doing. Go back to the well and finding bets that they miss 1 week, and then just double down and see what happens the next week. Then deviate away from it. And we're on to the second anytime touchdown bet. Now, I see the name David Njoku.
One of the reasons why I went with David Njoku here, I mean, this is a tight end who over the last 4 weeks has seen, let's see the numbers here, 84, 73, 88, 58 receiving yards over the last 4 weeks for him. So that's really good. His route participation, there are only 3 tight ends who are running more routes than David Njoku is right now on passing plays from their team. Those 3 guys, Quan, Zach Ertz, Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews. So if that's the company that you're keeping at the tight end position, that's pretty good right now. Yeah, very good company to be in right here. And then the other thing here is that, you know, Cleveland is an underdog in this game against Baltimore right now. So the game script is going to kind of lean to being a pass-heavy game script. And the Baltimore defense in 6 games so far this year, the Baltimore defense has given up a touchdown to a tight end in 4 of those 6 games right here. So you have a guy who's seeing a ton of volume, a guy who's running a ton of pass routes here, a guy who is going up against a defense that has given him up, and the game script kind of skews towards them having to throw the ball a little more. So that's a lot of things right there that point to David Njoku being able to get in the end zone. And it's still a pretty big number here, Con. We're getting this, I think it's plus 225 was the number that I saw it at. So we're getting a good payout on something that I think is very likely to happen. Those are the kind of bets that we really want to make here. So second anytime touchdown score bet of the day is going to be David Njoku getting in the end zone against the Baltimore Ravens.
Browns got the Ravens 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Anytime touchdown number 3. Who we going with, Benny?
Yeah, so this one, you know, I really want to take a New York Giant here, and I debated whether it was going to be the tight end Daniel Bellinger or it was going to be their new number 1 wide receiver, Wan'Dale Robinson, who we saw last week. And here's the thing that ultimately put me on Robinson is Robinson had, I think, 3 catches on 4 targets last week, 37, 38 yards, got in the end zone with one of those. But it was the way that he had those catches is, you know, they set up a screen pass to get the ball into his hands right away. So I think this guy is going to start being a bigger and bigger part of the offense. It was his first game of the season because he was out with an injury. They played him 15 snaps, Quan. That was only 23% of the snaps that they had out there, that they had him out there on the field. I think that number is going to more than double this week. I think he's going to be out there for at least 50% of the snaps. They're going to use him in passing situations. So again, he's not going to be out there on first down blocking for that Saquon Barkley 2-yard run up into the back of one of his guards in the middle of the line there. But he will be out there in the high leverage situations. He will be out there when they're down in the red zone. They're going to manufacture touches for this guy on things like screen passes and quick outs and stuff like that. He's very talented. He's by far the best receiver that they have. And you look at this game, the Giants are an underdog. They're a 3-point underdog here. Whether or not you think that's a good line, I actually don't. I think I'd rather take the +3 on the Giants than lay 3 points with the Jacksonville Jaguars against anybody. But, you know, this is a game script that does kind of skew where they may have to throw the ball a little bit more here. And again, they're dropping wide receivers like flies. Kadarius Toney's still not back for them. You know, Kenny Golladay is banged up. Sterling Shepard's out for the year. You know, they're just running out of targets right now. And this is a guy that they desperately needed to get back in there. They got him in there last week. They used him last week. He was productive last week in a small role. And every game, I think that role is just going to keep growing and growing. And then the other thing that I liked about this is, and what ultimately tipped the scales for me to take Wan'Dale Robinson, Robinson is over +300 to get in the end zone. I think it was +305 was the number that we found here. Whereas the biggest number I could find on Daniel Bellinger was like 275, 280. So I looked at it and I'm like, listen, Bellinger, you know, yeah, he's found the end zone a couple times this year, but it's not like this guy's seeing 7, 8, 9 targets. He's seeing like 2, 3, 4, you know, and Robinson already last week in his first game playing just, you know, 23% of the snaps, saw 4 targets. So 15 snaps is what he was on the field there for. 4 times in those 15 snaps, they threw the ball to him. If he gets up to 30 or 40 snaps this week and he gets that same percentage, you're talking 6, 7, 8 targets that's going to go this guy's way. So I like Wan'Dale Robinson. I think the Giants are going to start feeding him. I think they're going to start featuring him. And I think they're going to have to if they're going to be behind in this game. You can only give the ball to Saquon Barkley so many times and not expect the defense to understand it. Now that defenses are starting to cheat and pack the box, they're going to have to find something else to do. Getting Robinson on the outside, is where I think they're going to be able to do it. And that's how I think. I'm even going to call it this way, Quan. I think it's going to be a bubble screen is how they're going to get him the ball on the outside. They're going to get some blocking out there in front of him, and he's going to get in from like 8 or 9 yards out in the red zone. So Wan'Dale Robinson over plus 300 if you could find it there. That's going to be my third anytime touchdown for the week.
I like it, man. Exact play call. We got a bubble screen, 88 and out the gate. We're going to get Wan'Dale Robinson in the end zone. We're going to take a quick commercial break here on Betting with Benny and come back with our player prop segment for segment 2. So we'll be right back on the Game Plus Network and the FTN Network. And we are back here on Betting with Benny. I'm DeQwan Young, Quantity Media on the Twitter machine. Benny Ricciardi, Benny R11 on Twitter. Follow him. All of his takes. We do this show twice a week. We give out opening lines on Monday, and today is the prop show. Today, in this segment 2, we're going to go with our player props. We're going back to the well. Derrick Henry through the air. Tell us what you got, Benny.
Yeah, I mean, we played this. So they were on bye last week, right? And we played this Derrick Henry over receiving yards number the week before in week 5 or whatever that was when we played it, and we cashed it then. And we said basically what we said there is going to be the same argument that I make here. The first 2 weeks of the season, I think the first week he didn't see a single target. The second week he saw 1 target and he didn't catch it. And then in week 3, they realized, like, hey, we can't just keep banging this guy up the middle because teams are stacking the box and they know that's what we're doing. But he's such a dynamic player. Maybe if we try to get him outside where it's him one-on-one against cornerbacks, maybe we'll be able to get some yardage that way. And lo and behold, that's what they started doing in week 3. Week 3, week 4, week 5. This guy had, let me get the numbers here exact, 58, 33, and 30 yards receiving in those 3 games. Because if you put Derrick Henry on the outside running downhill against a cornerback who's 5'10" and weighs $150 or $180 or whatever it is, that's like my 7-year-old son trying to tackle me running full speed. Like, it's not going to happen. And that's exactly what we see happen with Derrick Henry. Like, when you get him out in space on these little guys out there, he's running over defensive linemen and linebackers. You put him on a DB. I mean, listen, he's just gonna manhandle these guys, and that's really what I'm looking for here. The number is so low. I think it's only 13.5 is the number here. Now, again, I don't think he's gonna get 8 to 10 targets. I think at most he gets 5, but I think at least he gets 3. If he catches 1 or 2 of them, he only has to break 1 for like 9 or 10 yards, and then get another one for 2 or 3 yards. And we get over the number that we need. Like I said, we cashed this once. I think we're going to cash it again. I like Derrick Henry over 13.5 yards receiving.
I like it. We're going back to another running back through the air. Take it away. What do you got for us with Josh Jacobs here?
Yeah, so Josh Jacobs over the last couple of weeks has become just a massive part of this offense here for Las Vegas. 11 and 20 touches in the first 2 weeks, 18 touches in the third week, 33 touches in week 4, 26 touches in week 5, and then they were on a bye last week here. The last 3 games that they've played, this is a guy who's had 5 receptions in each of those games and has gone well beyond this number here. So, he has just become, they basically have decided in Las Vegas that all these other guys, the Zamir Whites and the other random players that they're trying to work in and get touches to, they're better off just feeding Josh Jacobs, which is what happened when Josh Jacobs was a rookie with John Gruden as his coach when he had his best season here. Feed this guy. Just feed him. Give him the touches. Give him the ball. Give it to him any way that you can get it to him. And I think that's exactly what they're going to do here. I think they're going to get this guy the ball. He's got a very good matchup against a very bad Houston defense. And I think they're just going to keep feeding him the ball. And I think he's going to be one of those guys that has a monster game. He's going to be one of the highest owned running backs this week in DFS. And I know that because he's already in my DFS lineup that I made without even doing any research. Just like first shot when you throw that lineup in to save it there in the tournament, I was like, oh yeah, Josh Jacobs is going in there. I think we could look at the numbers for the last couple of weeks. I mean, the guys ran for over 100 yards, making 5 or 6 catches, getting 30 or 40 yards that way. close to 150 total yards and getting himself into the end zone. So I like him to score a touchdown, but that number's a little too low. I like his rushing yards, but it's all the way up at 81, which is a very high number for Josh Jacobs. So I didn't want to play that. So I was trying to find an angle that made sense where I could get some of that Josh Jacobs into my lineup, but also not feel like I'm taking a number that's a little bit beyond where I would want it or getting a payout that's way below where I would get it. And the one that made the most sense to me was going with the receiving yards over 17.5. So I love Josh Jacobs for big games. I don't mind what Josh Jacobs prop you want to play. I'm on board with all of them, as you'll see when we get to our single game parlay later on in the show. But for me, the one that made the most sense and the easiest one I think that we could cash is going to be the receiving yards over 17.5. So that's why I went with that.
I like it. We're going to take our last commercial break here and come back with our first touchdown score and our single game parlay, our Tupac parlay, because we get around here on Betting with Benny. We'll be right back on the Game Plus Network and FTN Network here on Betting with Benny. What's up, everybody? We are back here on Betting with Benny. Our final segment, we're going to go over our first touchdown score here, and our first touchdown score will be coming from none other than Uncle Lenny. Uncle Benny, tell us what you got for Uncle Lenny.
Yeah, that's it, maybe. Uncle Leonard Fournette is going to be our first touchdown scorer here. So really, I mean, this one is basically just a nice, easy kind of way to understand this, right? Tampa Bay is an 11-point favorite in this game against the Carolina Panthers. The Carolina Panthers absolutely stink. What do we talk about all the time with the first touchdown scorers? We want an offense that stinks on the other side so that we think that they're not very likely to be the ones that score the first touchdown, which means that the guy on the team that you choose is the one who's more likely to score. Check. Definitely have Carolina being a bad offense here. So now we want to look and see, okay, Tampa Bay does have a lot of weapons, Quan. I'm not gonna argue with that. You have Godwin, you have Evans, there's a whole bunch of other wide receivers that Tom Brady can throw to that give us a chance to score touchdowns. That's all great. Leonard Fournette has scored a touchdown in each of the last 3 weeks. He had a slow start to the season the first couple of weeks. He's had 1, 2, and 1 touchdowns in the last 3 games. 3 of them have been through the air as well. So kind of goes back to what we were talking about with Christian McCaffrey too. He's a little bit of that game script agnostic kind of situation here with them. If they get down onto the 1 or the 2 yard line, well, yes, they're going to run the ball in. And if they run it, they're probably going to give it to Leonard Fournette. So that's a reason why he's going to score a touchdown there. But even if they're not on the 1 or 2 yard line and they're down in the red zone somewhere, he's still a guy that they throw passes to. So even if it's a passing down play, there's still a chance that Uncle Lenny could get in through the air. So that's what we like to see here. He could be the guy that scores through the air. He's very likely to be the guy that scores to the ground unless they're at like the half-inch yard line and they go with the Tom Brady sneak. So you have a game where the other team's not going to score. This is a team that should score. They're a massive favorite. When you have a massive favorite, that's usually good for running back touchdowns. Uncle Lenny's going to get in the box at some point this game, and I think it could be the first guy to get in the box. It's not the greatest payout here, plus 350, but the fact that it's plus 350 and it's that low kind of tells you that there's a really, really good chance that this is the guy who's going to get the first touchdown here. So we've had some much bigger ones out there for people that, have been looking for him. But for me on this one, I like Uncle Lenny plus 350 to be the first guy to get in the touchdown for Tampa Bay Buccaneers this weekend.
On the ground or in the air, we're going with two-way Lenny for the first touchdown for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And now back to get wrecked. All respect to those who break their neck to keep their bets in check. The Tupac parlay, because we get around here on Betting with Benny. This is your single game parlay where Benny tries to make $1 out of 15 cents. Hit us with the plus 600 play you got for us, Benny.
Yeah, I think if you shop around, you might even be able to get this a little bit higher, but Josh Jacobs is going to be the guy that we're talking about here, and it's going to be a very Josh Jacobs-centric parlay. Now, we already talked about the receiving yards over 17.5. I put that in here because I thought that was the best number of those numbers there, and that actually got it up a little bit above that, dollar out of 15 cent mark that we try to hit to get it above that 600 there. But the other thing I added with him was not only him to get into the end zone, it's him to get in the end zone twice in this game. Because I do think with the massive volume that they're giving him, and as good a matchup as this is against Houston, they're favored. They should win. I think it's a touchdown is the spread right now. They're at home. Like all the positive things we look for with running backs. I think this is going to be a monster Josh Jacobs game. I think he could get in the end zone twice. I think he gets over that 18 yards receiving. He gets over those receiving numbers. He gets in the end zone twice. And we can make $1 out of 15 cents here. So that's the way I'm doing it. Josh Jacobs, 2 touchdowns and over 17.5 yards receiving. That is how I'm going to make $1 out of 15 cents this week.
It is a running back weekend. It's a Josh Jacobs weekend. It is a game script agnostic weekend. Everybody put your money where Benny's mouth is. We're going to hit some bets. We're going to hit some first touchdown scores, some anytime touchdowns, and some prop picks. Thank you guys for tuning in to Betting with Benny. I'm DeQwan Young. Here as always, catch me on Twitter, Quantity Media. This is Benny Ricciardi, Benny R11. We'll see you guys here on Monday for our week 8 game by game breakdown. We're 8 weeks in already, Benny.
Crazy.
All right, we'll see you guys Monday. Thanks for tuning in.